Hey, I am Trae Bohlen, storyteller, brand photographer, entrepreneur. I love new beginnings, fresh starts, pivots, redirections, maybe an occasional resurrection. Everyone has an origin story, and I can't wait to hear yours and share it with the world. So I'm super excited to have my friend Tim here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the events that shaped his journey and where he began and where he is now. So welcome, Tim.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Trey. I appreciate it.
I'm super excited to hear a little bit about your story. I know it kind of has a little bit of a tragic beginning. So could you share with us kind of what led up to the beginning of your story?
Um, well, I was hit by a drunk driver while I was parked on the side of the highway back in 2017, and that really shook my world up. Long story short, I was hit by that drunk driver. I fractured 11 bones. Was rushed to the ICU in Beaumont, and was in the hospital for months. Was in a self-induced coma for 8 days, and
Wow.
throughout the rehabilitation process, I was diagnosed with an emergent mood disorder and a traumatic brain injury, and it was just a long road to recovery. But I made it through that and recovered, and came across the Wim Hof method during my, how you said you wanted to keep this short. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into. I'm feeling like I'm just kind of like blowing over it.
It's okay. It's all going to tell itself the further we get into it. So you said you had this accident, then you were in a coma, then you were in rehab, then you discovered a method. Was that a part of your rehab?
Yeah, no, it ended up being a part of my rehab, just something that I had found myself. It's nothing that a physical therapist or occupational therapist or doctor
Okay.
had recommended. I had just randomly come across it one day listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. And I heard this guy, Wim Hof, speak about how he had scientific evidence of voluntarily influencing the autonomic nervous system. And that had been something that I've been obsessed with for over a decade and had found very little science on. And
Yeah.
when I heard Wim talking about it, it just really struck a chord with me. So then I started practicing that breath work, and it really, really helped me make a full recovery. It really balanced out my nervous system. I was diagnosed with
Wow.
PTSD. And so I had like all these nightmares, waking up in cold sweats, feeling like 94 and 96 were just running right through the middle of my room. I had this
Wow.
emergent mood disorder, so my mood would just go up and down throughout the day, no control over
Mhm.
my emotions. And when I started practicing this breath work, it really helped with emotional processing and balancing out my nervous system. I wasn't as jumpy anymore after practicing this
Mm.
breath work for a few weeks. It just somehow balanced out my nervous system and gave me more control over my emotions and my energy. And yeah, it really helped out.
It's amazing how a simple thing like breathing could have such a big result,
Isn't that
right?
wild? Yeah.
That is crazy. So, can you just maybe like walk me through? I don't want you to give away your secrets, but as far as the process goes, is it simple? Is it something you can do at home? Like, did you have to go somewhere to learn about it?
Yeah, so no secrets here. I taught myself how to do it online, just watching YouTube videos, and so it is available for free to anybody. Um, so I taught myself how to do it. I ended up going and getting certified to become an instructor, and when I did that, it was incredibly helpful to have somebody who knew the ropes and knew exactly what was going on. Really helped coach me through it. That I made
Wow.
leaps and bounds with my practice, having that
What was
experience.
that training like?
It was intense. It was 5 days. Well, there was 2 modules before that was all online. I think each one of those was 10 or 12 weeks. So that
Wow.
was a lot of online work. But then the third module is going to Poland in person in 5 days, in-person training. And they actually doing all sorts of stuff. A lot of practicing, teaching the method to groups of people, but also hiking up a mountain in your swimsuit and
Yeah.
going swimming in icy rivers in the middle of winter and doing a wide variety of cold exposure and breathwork exercises.
Because I'm sure there's a difference between I am doing this for me and I am teaching it to someone else, right? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you can teach it.
No doubt. No doubt.
So just curious, what was your background before? You said you had this tragic event happen, you were hit by a drunk driver, you had PTSD. What were you doing before that?
I was a licensed professional counselor, and I also
Okay.
have I still have a school counseling license. I still work in the schools as a school counselor, and that's what I was doing before. I was working at Detroit Cody Public High School. I
Okay.
graduated from University of Detroit just before that accident. I only worked at Detroit Cody for a week, and then that accident happened. And then
Wow.
after that accident, went through that long rehab, and now I'm back into the schools doing my counseling thing, but also have this business, and I run workshops on the weekends and throughout the
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah. How do you feel like what you've gone through has affected just your counseling, like your day job?
Oh, well, it's incredibly, there's been a lot of struggles at first because it took a while to really train my brain again, to get control of my focus and my mood,
Mm,
and really find the words that I want to use and articulate myself. Traumatic brain injuries are no joke, especially one of that severity. And so at
yeah.
first it was really a struggle, but now that I was lucky enough to find the tools to really help me recover, it's been great because I have all this firsthand experience with some really extreme trauma. And so now when I have a
Right.
client in front of me who's really went through some
Mm,
similar situation or has some trauma that's similar, I can really relate and have personal experience with it and help guide them more
mm.
effectively.
I'm super curious. What kind of inspired you to take this to the next level? Okay, you had this tragic thing happen. You were a counselor, the tragedy happened, you got help, and then you were like, oh, now I want to help others. Was that like connected?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Trae. It's exactly right. This method just worked wonders for me. And I
Right.
thought, what better purpose would there be? Like, what better thing could I do with my life than to go get certified and to help other people who have similar struggles, help them overcome those things?
Yeah. So what were the early days like? Or are you still in the early days of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I'm going on year 3. And
Okay.
so, it's still pretty early.
What
And
was
those
that
early
first
days,
year? I feel like probably someone listening is in that very beginning, that very first year. So what was the first year like for you?
a lot of unknowns.
Uh,
I had a lot of people close to me and like, what are you doing? What? Like really
you're
questioning
teaching
me.
people how to breathe.
Yeah, teaching people how to breathe and you're jumping in cold water in the middle of winter. What are you talking about? This sounds really dangerous and really stupid. And so,
A
luckily
lot
I
of
had my wife.
doubters, right?
Yeah, a lot of doubters or just a lot of people who had a lot of questions. And
Mm,
I'm thankful for those people asking those questions too. Like that really helped motivate me in a way, right? And
wow.
I was really lucky to have the wife that I do, Samantha, and because she's got a business degree, and so she's got a cleaning business that she's been doing for years and years, and so she knows all
Mm,
the ins and outs of starting a business and running a business,
yeah.
and so she's been my rock and who I go to when I have questions about things, and that's been very helpful. But there's a lot of unknowns, Trae. I
Yeah.
didn't know, I went to get certified, and it was an expensive training, and I had
Right.
no idea if this was going to work out, if people are going to actually sign up to come to these workshops. And
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
been better than I ever could have expected. I got people sign up for workshops in the middle of the winter and they're jumping into ice water. Who would have thought people would sign up to do that?
So what would you tell someone if they're in that spot where they're like, okay, I've got the doubters, I've got all these people saying this is insane. I can't be a part of this vision that you have. What would you tell them?
I would say check in with yourself, take some time,
Yeah.
cut off from technology, take some time for meditation, get to know your inner self. And if you feel
Mm.
that strong urge to follow it, trust yourself, follow your gut and your heart and do what you're really passionate about. And there's going to be risks involved. So you just go for it.
I love that advice of like, there are risks and listen to who you were created to be and then just go for it, right?
Yes.
That's incredible. I feel like the beginning is always the hardest, laying the foundation. You've got someone in business, to help you kind of lay that business foundation and then building on that year 2, year 3. I think most entrepreneurs, like by year 5, give up. You know, that's the
Mm.
statistics. We don't make it past that. And you've got the business foundation. things are going well. I'm sure you're going to make it past 5 years. What is the big goal for you? What's year 3 goal?
Year 3 goal is I want to start working with more professional sports teams and collegiate level sports teams and
Oh yeah.
rehabilitation centers. So those are my 3 big, you can just call it 2. I really want to get in the world of athletics more. I'm already broken into that world, but I want to do more. And I want to get in with rehabilitation centers, specifically people with traumatic brain injuries.
Oh, for sure, because that's where you came from. That's your experience, right?
Yeah, and I think it'd be really helpful. And I don't think it's being talked about that much at some of these
Mm.
rehabilitation centers. I really want to open up minds and really break into that arena.
Yeah, and I feel like now is the time because people are more open to holistic approaches and nature and what can our body do, and not so heavily focused as much on the drugs and different things like that. I think this is like a great timing for you. How
Heck
have you
yeah.
found the response to be?
Fantastic. I never expected that I would be selling out workshops in the middle of winter, and it's been happening. And I get these people coming and they're just fed up with the sick care system that we're in right now. And they're looking for proactive ways to prevent disease instead of just treat disease. And so it's been really great. It's been better than I could ever expected.
I, I'm curious now. Could you do a little demonstration for us of the breathing? I think that would be really cool to be able to practice a little bit of what you're sharing, if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. What you would really want to do, though, I can only show you so much through a
Okay,
screen. If you really want to
right.
learn the method, come to a workshop and learn and get firsthand experience. And the beautiful thing about that is you come to one workshop and you walk away with tools that you can use for the rest of your life to optimize your health. So just
That's awesome.
one time thing. You come, you don't have to refill a prescription every month. You come one time,
Exactly.
you find out
Exactly.
a lot of what's going on in here. But how it looks is you just take a nice full breath each time. Take 30 breaths over and over again. So fill up the belly first, then the chest. So nice full breath in and just lightly let it go. Again. You do that over and over again 30 times. You might start to get lightheaded. You might start to
Well,
feel
okay.
a tingling sensation in your hands and feet. You might you want to be lying down. There's so much that goes into this right now, Trae.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling to figure out exactly what I want to cover. You want to be lying down. You want
Yeah.
to make sure that you're not epileptic, pregnant, or have a severe underlying heart condition. Those are contraindications. So if you have one of those things, you want to check with your primary care physician before
Hmm.
you practice. But if you check those boxes or you don't check those boxes and you're good to go, you're cleared for moderate exercise, then you could try this lying down on your couch, 30 to 40 deep breaths, filling up the
Wow.
belly, then the chest, lightly letting go. After the 30th one, hold your breath. Just lightly let it go, hold your breath. When you have
Mm.
to breathe again, you take a full inhale in, fill it all the way up, hold it for 15 seconds, let it go. And then that's one round. And then you continue to do 3 to 4 rounds. So it's not like your normal breath work where you're just sitting
Yeah,
quietly in a
no,
room
that does
alone.
not sound like anything I've heard before. Like the box breathing and,
Right.
inhale and then holding it and then counting, letting go, which I've done that before and it's been very, very helpful for grounding, but this sounds a little different.
It is different. And I want to make sure that I echo what you said too. I love box breathing. I love mindfulness. I love all these breathwork practices. Really do. Those other ones that we just mentioned usually target the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's a lot more about relaxing. The
Mhm.
Wim Hof method breathing that we're talking about right now is really gears up the sympathetic side of the nervous system when you're doing the deep breathing. And then you go in your breath hold and it activates the parasympathetic side. And so it's a
Can you
workout for your
Okay, that's
autonomic
what I was gonna
nervous
say. Can you
system.
explain the differences between those 2 for us civilians?
Yeah, so sympathetic is just fight or flight, you know, adrenaline. Think of adrenaline.
Mhm, mhm.
Parasympathetic is rest and digest. That's relaxing. So those are the 2 branches of your autonomic nervous system. And a lot of those
Okay.
breath work practices we were talking about that you see in yoga or box
Mhm.
breathing that the military or certain sports might use, those are targeting the parasympathetic nervous system, just helping you relax. If your
Yeah.
exhale is longer than your inhale, that helps your body relax. But when you're breathing over heavy, cyclical hyperventilation,
Yeah.
That's really ramping you up. So it's going in the opposite direction.
I definitely felt like something different was happening when you were breathing. I was like, I feel like we're going in the different direction than what I've practiced before, where, you're taking a deep breath, you're calming yourself down, you're telling yourself it's going to be okay. Or even in like labor, like giving birth, right? You're like,
Yeah.
and our body can do this thing. Let's fall into it. But it felt very different when you were breathing
Hmm.
because, like you're saying, you were amping up for something, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's crazy how something just as simple as breathing can make you feel two different ways.
Yeah, right. And completely change your biochemistry. So it's been shown that if you do this breath work, you get more adrenaline than somebody who's actually bungee jumping for their first time. It's pretty wild. So you can tap into your
That
adrenal
is
axis.
insane.
You can also, what happens during those breath holds is that tricks your body into releasing interleukin 10, which is a cell messaging protein that's anti-inflammatory. So if any listeners are out there, if you want to be absolutely blown away, go to YouTube and type in Wim Hof influencing the immune system. And the first video that pops up will be a bunch of doctors talking about the study that they've done with a group of guys practicing the Wim Hof method breath work, fighting off viruses, E. coli, like, real viruses, fighting it
Yeah.
off, not having any symptoms. Absolutely incredible.
Fighting off a virus by breathing. Where was this during COVID?
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Hey, and that's another thing that really inspired me to to go get certified. It was right in the middle of COVID, right after COVID hit. I flew over there and got my certification. And part of that was because everybody's just talking about getting this vaccine, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer, right? If you want to get the vaccine, that's totally fine, all good. But I was just disappointed that there
Everybody has
wasn't.
their own choice.
Yeah, but I was just disappointed that there wasn't any other modalities talked about. There wasn't anything about, let's exercise, let's make sure we're eating healthy, let's make sure we're getting some social interaction when you could, maybe like going outside, getting sunlight, anything, taking vitamin D as a supplement. But it was all just about getting vaccinated. And so I wish that there had been a more balanced conversation around that. So that's part of the reason why I went over there too. I wanted more resources and be able to help people optimize their health in that way.
Yeah, that's incredible because there are alternatives. If we're looking for them, there are alternatives. There isn't only one way, which I think is really incredible that you're devoting yourself to offering an alternative method for people that have traumatic brain injuries or are looking to better their health or looking for a change. I think it's incredible.
It really is. And the best part about my job is that getting emails from people after they've attended workshops and saying, hey, I'm so much better. This has happened. Blah, blah, blah. I love getting those emails and just seeing how much it helps some people.
So speaking of workshops, what does a workshop with you look like? Are they long? Is it a couple of days, an hour? What does a workshop look like generally?
Yeah. So coming up with a meet and greet, they got to sign off on some liability waivers and fill out a health declaration. But right after that, we'll go into introductions. We'll all meet each other. And then I'll give a presentation about my personal story. And then we'll talk about the science behind the method. And then we'll go and do some group breath work, some guided breath work. And then we'll debrief. We'll talk about it. And then we'll jump into cold water immersion training. And then we'll talk about a little science behind that. And then we'll go do our ice baths. And then we'll debrief that as well. And then in the middle of that, there's some snacks and some drinks. There's a break because workshops are 3 to 4 hours long. So
Okay, 3 to 4 hours. I was curious about how long this was taking. It seems like it's not something that you're like, okay, quick 15 minutes and we're done.
yeah, no, you could make it a week-long training if you wanted. If you really want to get the most out of it, it'd be best to do it for a week with somebody or a group of people. That'd be really beneficial. Yeah. I've run weekend workshops too, so 2 days.
Okay.
So you can really prolong it. And I run fundamentals workshops and advanced workshops. Advanced workshops are for people who've been practicing for a while and really want to go deeper with the method and try other breathing practices, because it's not just, there's multiple types of breath work that we teach in the Wim Hof method, not just the regular one we just discussed.
Wow. Now I'm curious, where does that cold immersion come in? Recently, I've been seeing so many of my friends doing it. Lots of guys and gals jumping in big tanks of ice water. What is up with that? Tell me more.
Yeah, so man, if you want to wake up and be invigorated, you get in some cold water. It just
That
wakes you up. If you want
very
to feel a lot,
invigorating.
yeah, it wakes up every cell of your body. You feel alive. You feel so alive and awake and mindful of the present moment, right? Like you're not thinking about paying your mortgage or picking up your kid from daycare when you get in an ice bath. You're just very present, right?
I would probably be shocked. I think that sounds very shocking, and yeah, that's one way to wake up is with an ice bath instead of coffee. Like, who needs coffee when you're freezing cold?
So it's how I wake up every morning, and I swear by it. If I don't do it now in the morning, I feel so just groggy and not like myself.
Wow.
It's just a night and day difference. But what does it do?
Yeah,
Scientifically, if you get in water 59 degrees Fahrenheit or below for just 1 to 2 minutes, it raises noradrenaline over 500% and dopamine over 250%. A lot of antidepressants on the market will target noradrenaline receptors in the brain. So it's a
yeah,
great natural mood enhancer that lasts for 6 to 8 hours after your plunge. Dopamine, it has to do with pleasure and motivation.
yeah, yeah.
And that, again, skyrockets. So mood and
Hmm.
energy go up for hours and hours and hours. And you don't have to take a pill. You can just get in some
Yeah,
cold water. And almost everybody's got cold water unless you're homeless, right? Like if you got a house, you
yeah.
can turn that water down cold and you get a bunch of benefits. Plus, it's a great workout for your cardiovascular system. So you got all these veins and arteries that run through your body, 80,000 some miles of them. When you get in cold water,
Hmm.
vasoconstriction takes place. So all those veins and arteries tighten down and narrow. And then you get out and you move around a little bit, you get some exercise, and all those veins and arteries open up, you get vasodilation. And all those little muscles that lace your cardiovascular network get stronger. And so your heart doesn't have to beat as much. It causes less work on your heart. So it's really good strengthener. It really strengthens your
Yeah,
cardiovascular system. And you get all these cold shock proteins too. Like your liver's got all these cold shock proteins. When you get in cold water, it dumps them into your bloodstream, and those help decrease inflammation. And so it can really help with
fascinating.
recovery as well, right? Like we know athletes and
Hmm.
Finns have been doing this for a long, long time.
Right. I've seen it in movies, but it was like, oh, that's just a movie or what pro athletes are doing. That's just weird. But it makes sense that if they're doing it, maybe there's something to it, right?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
It
It's
just
really
took
been
it
awesome.
just took the rest of us a while to get in touch with it, huh?
Yeah, right. I only knew what I knew. I had no idea that there was all these benefits to cold water before I came across that Joe Rogan Wim Hof podcast. Like before that, I just like you said, I just kind of saw pro athletes doing it every once in a while and never really thought of it. Um, I would see I was a grad assistant at University of Detroit Mercy for the basketball program, and so they'd be taking ice baths every once in a while. But I never felt the urge to get in there. I was like, I don't want to do that. But if I would have known about the benefits at that time, I probably would have started
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we only know what we know, but it's obviously coming around. Like you said, you see it all the time now on
Hmm. My sister
Facebook and
did it.
social media. Nice.
Yeah, she's been experiencing pain, and I don't want to tell her story, but sometimes when you're at a desperate place, you're willing to try something different because you've tried everything else. So, maybe these things aren't working, and maybe something like an bath is going to work, or like breathing is going to be valuable to you. Sometimes it's the desperate thing that calls for that next step of action.
Yeah, that's amazing. I spent a lot of time thinking about that for the past 5 or 6 years now. Just how really negative, awful situations can be such a good grounds for building and making new habits and facilitating change. Right, like
Yeah.
rock bottom is a solid foundation to start building.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
looking back at that
Definitely.
accident that I went looking back at that accident that I went through is like I'm really grateful for it now because it really taught me a ton about myself and about life and how things work and how hard work pays off and trying new things like you mentioned. Um, there's a quote by Khalil Gibran. He says something like, "I've learned peace from war. I've learned silence from the talkative, and I've learned love from hate. But for whatever reason, I'm ungrateful towards those teachers."
Hmm.
So I think about that. And it's like, wait, yeah, why am I not grateful for the bad things that happen because they're great teachers. Pain can be a really great teacher, and
Hmm.
in fact, it has been.
What do you think was the biggest thing that you took away from your accident?
Just how, you set your mind and you work hard and it's going to pay off and you can overcome a lot of things. I didn't think I was going to be able to do a lot of stuff again. Um,
Mm,
I was in a really dark place, didn't really know how my body was going to function anymore. And I just was able to show myself that, you keep making small steps every day and you keep working hard and you stay focused and
mm,
it pays off and you can start to regain function again. And it's like that with everything, and having that growth mindset is really what it
mm.
solidified. It's like, if you want to get better at something, you can get better at it. It's just, are you willing to put in the work?
Yeah. And being an entrepreneur, isn't it a lot of work? I think sometimes it gets
Yeah.
painted with this beautiful picture, this brush, this broad brush of, have a dream and pursue it. Yay. But it's work. There's a
Absolutely.
lot of things that come with
No doubt
that.
about it. Especially,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it does. And I've been lucky to have I've been lucky to have this business be my side hustle. And so,
Mm,
I'm working in the schools Monday through Friday and then running these workshops on the weekends. And I've really, I've had to say no to a lot of opportunity on the business side just because I don't have the time to do it. And I just got to
mm,
balance out my work and my life, my home, my family. But it's kind of nice not having this business be like the main thing that I'm
mm.
doing, because then I just kind of get to pick and choose like little things that I want, you know.
That's a really interesting perspective on the side hustle. Do you have any advice for the side hustlers out there then?
Um, no, I don't know. I, I get nothing pops in my head right away.
That's all right. I know it was a little bit of an unexpected question. I feel like the thing that I'm hearing you say is it's okay to be a side hustle. You've got your main thing and your side thing. And I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure to take the side thing to the main thing like too fast,
Mm.
and not to be content in the journey or even in maybe keeping it as a side hustle. I don't know. Where do you see your plans for the future, Tim?
That's a wonderful question. We'll see. We'll see. I really love where I'm at right now. And so if it stays as a side hustle, that's great. If something happens and end up having some unique opportunities, that'd be great too. And if I end up doing this full time, it's we'll just see. We'll take it day by day and kind of see what happens. But again, I'd love to start working with more sports teams and rehabilitation centers specifically. So if
Yeah,
that
I
happens, then I would maybe consider doing it full time. But it would really have to be something significant for me to walk away from school counseling, because I really love doing that, and I love the people I work with, and I love the kids, and it's just all real good.
I think that's incredible that you can live a parallel life. Maybe you can have it all, right? Keep your day job and your side hustle and trust the journey. It feels like you learned a lot from your accident, having that grateful heart, having, taking pain and seeing the purpose in it or how something beautiful can come from something hard. If you could sum up what you do in 20 words, maybe not exactly 20 words, how would you sum that up?
Yeah, I teach people how to use low cost and accessible resources to optimize their mental and physical performance.
That was amazing. That was a beautiful sum up. I feel like everybody could utilize a low cost boost to their mood, to who they are, how they feel. I really appreciate your time with me. If there was one piece of advice you could give to someone that was just starting out, maybe remember where you were 3 years ago, what would you want them to know?
Ooh, things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go wrong. There's going to be failure. There's going to be there might even be more failure than successes. But if you keep pushing forward and you stay focused, you can get knocked down, but make sure you get back up and keep working. Even if you don't see the outcomes paying off right now, you keep working, you stay focused on your hustle, And then that way, when that opportunity does come, you're ready for it, and then you can jump on it. But yeah, when you get knocked down, get back up, keep working, and stay focused.
I think that's great advice that it's going to be hard and you are going to fail. Let's just put it out there. It's going to happen. So just don't get derailed from where you're going. What great advice. Thanks so much for joining me today, Tim. Where can people find you? Where is a good way to connect with you?
At trainthebrainllc.com. And then if you get on there, then you can find my emails on there, trainthebrainllc@gmail.com, Train the Brain LLC on Instagram and Facebook. That's it.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that we had a chance to talk today. Thank you for being real and authentic. And again, if you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to the channel.